Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Matt here, and we back with another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. So we coming up off of Memorial Day weekend, the holiday weekend. Y'all thought I wasn't gonna come back, but I'm right back with you, right back at you. What's happening now? Nah, I'm just playing. So we here. We are here. We're ready to talk about UFC at the Apex going down this Saturday. They're back in their makeshift home of the Apex, which is, I guess, their full-fledged home now. They're back at the Apex, so there won't be many fans. And we're going to be talking about the card that's going to be going down this weekend. Where in the main event, Kai Kara France is going to step in there at 125 pounds against Amir Albazi. That's a good main event. I mean, for just a regular card, it's not a pay-per-view or nothing, but for a regular card, that's a good main event, and that's a really hard one to call. On one side, you look at Kai Kara France. I mean, this guy, he can strike, he can grapple, he's tenacious, he's a savage in there. I mean, he goes for broke when he's ready to go. Then you got Amir Albazi, tremendous grappler, tremendous wrestler. I would assume he's got a little bit of power in his hands just taking a look at him, but primarily known for his grappling and his wrestling. It should be a really good fight, especially in the flyweight division, which, flyweight, once Brandon Moreno gets out here and really starts defending his championship, they're going to need new contenders. And you could always see Kai Kara making it back to Brandon Moreno again. So that will be interesting. And Amir Albazi is definitely a person that everyone has kind of been looking for to eventually be a title challenger. So, it's going to be interesting. UFC threw these two guys in there against each other. Normally you like to see this play out where, one of these guys kind of gets steamrolled to the top and gets a shot at the title. But, going this way, I mean, obviously somebody's going to have to take that L. So, we'll see how it goes down. I can't really make a call on that. I mean, if I did, I'm not making a pick, but if I made a pick, I'd probably have to lean toward Kai Kara France. Now, I will say that now I believe you're starting to kind of see a little bit more about the city kickboxing crew. And I kind of feel you're seeing what cream is rising to the top over there, so to speak. But I still think Kai Kara France is somebody who's deadly lethal in the flyweight division and definitely still has a way to the top. I mean, he hasn't lost many fights at all. So it should definitely be interesting. I mean, right now, when you take an L to Brandon Moreno, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? That's a good L to take against the flyweight champion. 2-time, I might add. So, it's going to be very, very, very interesting. See that fight. Just going to take a little look at the card here to kind of see, what else is going on. Another good fight. Ubakar Nurmagomedov against Santos. Now, I might have butchered that guy's name, but let's get down to it. This guy's a tremendous grappler, heavy top pressure. He's the type of grappler that once he gets you down, he's not concerned with you ever getting back up. He has no need for a stand-up. He's not worried about the fans, what they might say, if they're going to boo, woo, or whatever. He's down with it. Once you go down, you going down. And that's just how he works, you know what I'm saying? So, against Santos, I think that's going to be a very, very interesting fight. I mean, both guys are extremely good at grappling, but I think that the forward pressure more so of Nurmagomedov is going to be something that, it's going to be hard for Santos to overcome that. I'm not making any picks this card. I'm kind of chill on the picks for a second, but I would probably go with Nurmagomedov in that situation. I'm not sure, but my gut instinct is telling me that. Other fights, you also got Elise Neal against Jinyu Fry. This is not a fight where it's like, oh, this is a standout fight. This is a really good fight. I just want to make a note. I've always liked Elise Neal. I think she's got a little dog in her. You know what I'm saying? I think she can get down and get dirty when it comes to the striking. I don't think she's terrified. Sometimes you see her in there, she talks a little, she talks a little ish, you know what I'm saying? Talks a little ish to her opponents, lets them know, look, You stepping in here with Elise Reed. I mean, once she gets comfortable in the fight, you will see her, get the little mouthpiece working. So that's pretty cool. That's gonna be an interesting fight to see. Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott's going out here. He's got a fight. That fight is more interesting to see. If you follow Tim Elliott or if you've heard or read about some of the stuff he's been posting on Twitter about whatever he was going through with his wife, or I don't know, maybe she's his ex-wife by now, but he's had some personal problems with his wife and involving another man. So, you know, so it's going to be interesting to see him go out here and have a fight. That's just one of those things where you look at that straight up and down. Tim Elliott should win that fight, but when you factor in everything he might be going through personally, a lot of major changes in his life. Who knows what's going on? I don't even know if him and his wife are still together, if they're apart. But anytime you got a fighter coming in with a lot of mental baggage, sometimes that kind of overtakes their skill level. So, a guy comes in with a lot of baggage, on paper, he should definitely win the fight, but you never really know where his head is at. He might need a check real quick. Who knows what's going on, but Tim Elliott is fighting nevertheless. So that's going to be interesting. I would be on the lookout for Karine Silva from Brazil. Definitely be on the lookout for her. I'm choosing her against just about anybody in her division. Daniel Santos. Protege, the Charlie Olives, Charles Oliveira. He's stepping in there. He's going to be taking on Johnny Munoz. That should be a really good fight. I'm going to have to go along with Daniel, but I mean, Johnny Munoz, he ain't no joke. He ain't no slouch. He's a really good, well-rounded fighter, so very calm and collected fighter as well. Although, he can get savage if he needs to, but that's going to be interesting to see. I'd probably lean toward Oliveira's boy, Daniel Santos, but that should be a good one. But here's what I think is going to be a banger. A banger. Damon Blackshear versus Lacerda. I think that's going to be a banger. I think, if that goes to a decision after 3 rounds, you would have witnessed a good fight. I think that's going to be back and forth. I'd have to go with Lacerda for the win, but I think that's going to be back and forth. Blackshear bangs when he needs to bang. You know what I'm saying? And, I could easily see someone getting slept in that fight or getting TKO'd on the ground, but I'd have to go with Lacerda. I could also see it going to decision, but I'm still gonna lean a little bit closer to Lacerda, if you know what I'm saying. If you dig what I'm talking about, couple other good little fights going on. Jamie Malarkey coming back. How about Jim Miller versus Jared Gordon? That's what I want to talk about real quick. This is gonna be an interesting fight because at this point, you're just trying to see Jim Miller make it to UFC 300. So that way he can fight on that card and officially he becomes the only UFC fighter to fight on UFC 100, UFC 200, and now UFC 300. So that's what we're looking for. Now, I will say that Jim Miller, first round in his last fight, he looked really good, really solid. By the second round, it seemed he wasn't able to, switch into that extra gear. You know what I'm saying? He's clicking on that pedal, but he couldn't get the gear to shift into the next gear, the higher up. It seemed, I wouldn't say he gassed out or anything. He didn't seem necessarily like he was tired. It just seemed like he gave everything as, if it was a car, he went as fast as he could go in the first round. And he still could go about that same speed in the second round. But that speed is still not fast enough to beat his opponent. So I'm not sure where he's going to land in this fight. But I got to say, let's talk about Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon wasn't a guy that I was looking for, wasn't a guy I was checking for. I don't know this man. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know nothing about no Jared Gordon. I figured when they put him in there against Paddy the Baddy, I figured he was, it was a squash match. He's being thrown up in there to get taken out of there. You know what I'm saying? But when he went the distance with Patty and won on the scorecards, but they gave it to Patty, I was like, okay, I didn't necessarily see that. I didn't see him going the distance and beating Patty, but all right. Then when I saw him fight, Bobby King Bobby Green. When I saw that fight, this is what changed. And I know that fight ended due to a headbutt. It was made a no contest. Headbutt by Bobby Green. And I'm not saying Bobby Green did that headbutt intentionally. Bobby Green's my guy, so I can't say that. This is what I will say. The beginning of the first round, Bobby Green was doing Bobby Green things. Jared Gordon didn't back up. He didn't take a step back. He stuck to his defense. He looked like he was well trained and he was ready to handle whatever Bobby was going to throw at him, I should say. As that fight continued, I feel like, even though Bobby King is my guy, I feel like Jared Gordon really started to kind of, he was kind of edging him. He was edging out in front. That's what I feel like. I don't know how y'all feel, but that's what I feel like. I feel like he was kind of like, yo, dude, whatever, bro. Don't worry about my past. I'm Jared Gordon. And he seemed like he was slightly getting a little bit ahead of Bobby before that headbutt. And a lot of people are trying to say that was intentional. It could have been that Bobby felt he was getting ahead of him, so he kind of panicked somewhat, or kind of tried to do something to try to even it. Maybe didn't know that blow was going to end the fight. But I don't feel like Bobby Green is a dirty fighter, so I don't think that. But Jared Gordon's very interesting. I would honestly say I've always been a huge Jim Miller fan. I'd probably have to go with Jared Gordon in this, and then that might not be a hot take at all. A lot of people might be, but I'm just saying it's more about Jared Gordon. I didn't know he was really that solid. Like, he seems like a well-rounded, solid fighter. And I'd be very interested if he beat Jim Miller, for them to finally give him the rematch against Paddy the Baddy, because if Paddy's not getting better in this downtime, Jared's going to beat him. I mean, especially in the second, in the rematch, he's going to go in there with way more intensity to try to get him out of there. So that'd be very interesting too. So I think that's all the fights I'm really going to touch on this card. Should be very interesting. John Castaneda on this card. That's cool. Maxim Grisham. That's cool. So it should be very, very, it should be a good card to kind of come back from a little holiday weekend from, before we get off into the real deal. You know what I'm saying? This is like the little appetizer, but in a week or a few weeks, we going to get into the main course. You know what I'm saying? We over here with that steak, with that Kobe beef. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm messing with y'all. So nevertheless, man, good card. Appreciate you all for checking out this video. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I will catch you next time. Peace.